Well, we're actually standing in front of the entrance to the wildlife refuge, currently occupied by the armed militia. You can probably see that truck behind me that's blocking the entrance. Although journalists were allowed to enter inside and check out what's going on at the actual headquarters, but I'll get to that in a second. I do want to describe the atmosphere, which is quite unusual to my perspective, because on one hand you've got the armed militia occupying federal property over here. They are saying that they're planning to stay for a while. They want to, quote unquote, unwind the whole process of how this land was distributed. They're claiming that it was done illegally. They're saying that in accordance with the U.S. Constitution, this land can't belong to the federal government. It has to be returned to the state, and that's, well, apparently their goal. They're also saying right now that the locals are bringing them supplies, and, well, it seems very peaceful. But on the other hand, since these people are armed, this is federal property, this kind of looks like a standoff, but there's no police. Police haven't actually come here once, and this is the third day that this is happening. The authorities did hold a media conference yesterday in the nearest town. They did kind of ask the militia to leave and go back to their homes and families, but there was no reinforcement behind these orders coming from the authorities, so that makes the situation quite unusual. Also, when it comes to the locals in the nearby town, then they also don't really know how to deal with the situation, because on one hand they're saying that, well, these people, the militia, they do seem friendly, but on the other hand, again, they are armed and they are occupying federal property. So we'll have to see how the situation develops. Like I said, journalists were allowed to enter the property earlier. We were able to see what's going on there, and well, just here's the report that we've prepared from there.
They call themselves patriots and concerned citizens.
We have allowed our federal government to step outside the bounds of the Constitution. They have come down upon the people and are prosecuting them now directly. They are coming down into the states and taking over the land and the resources, putting the people into duress, putting the people into poverty.
Nobody agrees with everything that the federal government does, you know, but the way they're handling this is not the right way.
A tiny rural community in Oregon now at the center of global attention.
Let's take you to Oregon now, where armed protesters have taken over the headquarters of the Militia National Wildlife Refuge.
In rural Oregon, a group of armed militiamen are occupying a government building to protest the federal prosecution of 2 ranchers for arson.
Tonight, an anti-government militia has taken over a federal building in Burns, Oregon.
Did you bring a weapon with you?
You bet I did.
How long are you prepared to stay here for?
I live here.
So we're in a room right now which is being used as a storage facility, and you can see some basic food necessities here. Not a lot. They are saying that they have more, but these people are still refusing to answer the question about how many exactly are here.
So, how many people are living in here?
This is just some of the equipment normally used by the people who work at this wildlife refuge, but, well, so far it's been sitting here untouched because we know from the people who control this territory now that they haven't been in contact with the employees.
There has also been no contact at all so far with the police, who've only organized a news conference in a nearby town. Local schools and the courthouse remain closed, but whether or not the refuge will resume operation remains unclear. Igor Piskunov, RT, reporting from Oregon.
Sheriff David Ward and Judge Grasty of Harney County, they have a brief statement that they're going to provide. They are not taking questions at this time, and then I'll again be back up for you folks to provide some logistics for as this event unfolds.
Good afternoon. My name is David Ward. I'm the Sheriff of Harney County, Oregon. The Hammonds have turned themselves in today at 1:37 p.m. in accordance with the law and are currently in custody in a federal correctional institution in California. Harney County is a community of approximately 7,000 people. Most of us, about 5,000, live here in the communities of Burns and Hines. This event has significantly impacted our community. Our goal is to work together and restore calm and regular services for the people of that community. This incident originally started out when people from outside of the area and state arrived in an attempt to prevent the Hammonds from returning to prison. This began as a peaceful protest. It took an unfortunate turn when some of those folks broke off and began an armed occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. The Harney County Commissioners and I have requested law enforcement assistance from the Oregon State Sheriff's Association and the Oregon State Police. Sheriff's offices from around the state have also sent resources to assist us. We requested this additional support to make sure that the citizens of Harney County are safe. This is our top priority. I want to talk directly to the people at the Wildlife Refuge. You said you were here to help the citizens of Harney County. That help ended when a peaceful protest became an armed occupation. The Hammonds have turned themselves in. It's time for you to leave our community, go home to your families, and end this peacefully. Thanks for your time.
The occupation has been spearheaded by out-of-state groups, but today, local ranchers showed genuine interest as well.
We wanted to come down and find out for ourselves what was going on.
Debbie Johnson's family listened carefully to what Ammon Bundy had to say at this press conference.
And we feel that we have exhausted all prudent measures and have been ignored. And it has been left to us to decide whether we allow these things to go on or whether we make a stand.
I don't think he's a blowhard. I think that he's here to help us and not to hinder us.
The Johnsons ranch here in Harney County. She says land use restrictions are a serious concern.
Every year, it seems like they get a little bit tighter.
Johnson says the county and federal government continue to try and take water, grazing, and hunting rights away.
It feels like we're getting pinched out.
LaVoy Finicum talked about the fears well during this press conference. He's a rancher from Arizona who is part of the anti-government protest.
We're going to go to work. We're going to try to help restore these ranchers that have lost their ranches back to them. We're going to legally go to the records. We're going to search out these ranchers. Over 100 ranchers have lost their ranches here in this very area, in this very county.
Johnson says after coming here and understanding the cause, she fully supports it and believes others will too.
It's sad to be sitting back and watching it happen and feeling like you don't have a voice, because I know so many in this community feel like they don't have a voice. And unfortunately, this is what it took to get the voice.
A spokesperson for the Oregon movement spoke with Megyn Kelly last night. The lockdown is entering its 4th day. The group of Ranchesters are protesting prison sentences that were handed down to 2 of their neighbors, Dwight and Stephen Hammond, each getting 5 years. They set fires on their own land that ended up spreading to federal land. The executive director of the Oregon Cattlemen's Association, Jerome Rosa, with me now. Welcome, sir. You say the situation is a classic case of double jeopardy. What do you mean by that?
Good afternoon, Deidre. Thank you for this tremendous opportunity to be able to explain this tragedy that's happened in Oregon, and at Fox News for having us on. The situation is the Hammonds were tried and convicted, and they spent their time. Judge Hogan originally in the case mentioned that this is a sentence that shocks the conscience. It's a common sense thing. The time must meet the crime. And we see this as an opportunity to be able to show the country the injustice that has happened to these fair people.
So, Jerome, why do you think the judge wanted to make such an example of them?
You know, there's a long history there, And there's no telling, there's many reasons that could be behind that. The Oregon cattlemen support the legal process that is going on in our country, and we realize that change needs to happen in the laws in the country right now. And so we're working hard with our legislators and throughout our local governments to try and improve this process. Why they singled out the Hammonds, we hope that it's not a case of just making an example out of them, because this is an issue that will face our ranchers across the United States.
I know that some of the protesters have said we are in it for the long haul. What is the silver lining in this situation for you?
Well, the protesters that came to Oregon were not invited to come to Oregon, and the family did not ask them to come to do this. They are trying to do the right thing, peacefully turn themselves in. So it's a difficult situation at best, but we want to try and resolve this situation in a peaceful manner.
Jerome, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for sharing your insight. Jerome Rosa joining us there. He is Executive Director of the Oregon Cattlemen's Association.
But Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17 says that the federal government can't own this land.
Yeah, no,
that's my personal.
The only reason I was having to go at you because you were attacking the report for being biased when you fall into the same. That's why.
I said, well, right. But we had that discussion about bias, and I openly admit my bias.
So
yeah, this is a constitutional crisis, okay, that has been escalated on a very serious note. You know why? You want to know what the core issue is? Because the sheriff didn't have the balls to come here and deal with it. Where's the sheriff?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He could resolve it. He's the highest law enforcement authority in this county, and he's failed to appear. Maybe
you don't want to escalate it. That's the problem. You don't want to escalate it.
No, and his failure to act and appear and to resolve these issues at the county level, you know what he did? He deferred to the federal government because he was in way over his head. He didn't even consult with other constitutional attorneys.
Terrorism is when somebody is put in extreme fear to control them. Who here has been put in extreme fear to control them? Has it not been the Hammond family? Has the federal government put extreme fear in them? Are not those ranchers that are coming and speaking to me fearful that they too will be treated as the Hammonds? Who is the terrorist and who is the citizens?
We have children, we have wives that we have left at home, that we miss very much. It is our goal to get the logger back to logging, to get the rancher back to ranching, to get the miner back to mining, the farmer back to farming, and to jumpstart this economy in Harney County.
You're still welcome to go down regardless. Okay. And I
just figured y'all probably wouldn't want me to put the
We do have a plan, as we have stated from the beginning, and we are going to work. We are implementing this plan. We have been in communication closely with many community members that are assisting us in that. And we see a time coming very soon where the community will begin to participate more in that and then begin to take that over, and so that they can claim their own rights, so that they can begin using them, and then they can stand strong enough to defend them themselves, and then we will go home. It is our goal to get the logger back to logging, to get the rancher back to ranching, to get the miner back to mining,
the farmer backs the farm.
Are you aware of why they shut the schools down?
Well, we've been told that, so we don't know. They said...
I was told by a local firefighter, and I confirmed that some of the schools have been commandeered.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely the high school. I can see it.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. Yeah, staging as a staging area. The community's pissed off about it because moms have to stay home.
The one common thing, the 1/3 of the land mass of the United States. Now, I talked about this yesterday, didn't I? Okay? And it's gone clear to the Supreme Court that over this 1/3 of land mass, that they have complete exclusive legislative power whatsoever. That is not a republic, okay? So these public lands, and they are public lands, they're not federal public lands. They are Harney County public lands. They are Oregon public lands. They belong to the people of the state. Boy, thank you for what you're doing. And I have other ranchers on the other side of me in my same community saying, LaVoy, quit it, don't do it. You know why they're saying that? They say, LaVoy, if you do this, the federal government will take our ranches too.
So what do you say to the people who live here, though?
So this is not just for Harney County. This is not just for Harney County. I talk to all those ranchers in Utah that are under pressure. They're losing their ranches. So if we succeed in defending the ranchers, the farmers, the hunters, the campers in Harney County, then those in Utah, those in Arizona, those in Nevada have a greater chance. There are lots of rumors. I don't know how many rumors have been said that SWAT's on its way. They're coming in here to kill you. You know, it would be a silly thing for anybody, for them. The federal government has complete ability to come here in a moment and just wipe us all out. Let's make no mistake about it. The federal government has great resources and great abilities. There's no illusion of who is most powerful here. This is America. Our military force, our forces are top notch. We are just citizens.
Talk about the schools. A lot of people are frustrated, obviously. The schools are closed, their kids are out of school. Do you think that's a necessary move by the government?
Let's take a look. No, as I see, look out there. How many miles is it from here to Burns, Oregon? Can anybody tell me? I'm new to here. It's like 35 miles. Man, I can't even see it. You know, I can't even see that here. One of the nice things about where we're at is that we're removed from population, from people, to try to keep people from being worried, concerned. We want people to be safe. We're neighbors. We want to be neighbors. Please.
Cooper, we're out here at the Muller National Wildlife Refuge Center here in Oregon. What's the location? Is this Burns still?
Burns, Oregon. Well, south of Burns.
I'm here with John Ritzheimer, Ammon, Bundy, LaVoy, Finicum. Patriots ready to make a stand. This is a call to arms. Ammon?
We need you to come to Burns, or to the Muller National Wildlife Refuge, which is about 30 miles from Burns, Oregon. We have taken over the refuge. We have made a hard stand. We have done this because this refuge has been a tool that has been used to destroy ranchers, destroy loggers, and to oppress the people here in Harney County. We feel like this refuge will provide a place for patriots from all over the country to come and to be able to have a place out of the snow. We have food, and we have a place for you to stay. And we plan on being here for a long time. And when the snow melts here, our intentions are to free to allow the ranchers. We're going to protect the ranchers while they begin to ranch, protect the loggers so they can start logging again, so that they can start mining again, and that is our plan. But we need bodies. We need you to come. We need those of you who understand what is happening in this country to come and to stand.
You guys, this is Blaine Cooper. You say you stand for the Constitution and you're ready to make a change in this country. You're sick of what's going on in our country. We need men. It's time to make that stand. We all chosen to make that stand. It takes you too. We can't do it alone. Please get out here. LaVoy?
I'm doing this for my kids. I have 20 grandkids and daughters and sons. I want them to be free. I want our Constitution to be upheld in its original intent. I want freedom to be restored to our country. And unfortunately, our political class does not have the will. We're entrenched and they won't do it. So here in this little place, we'll uphold the Constitution. We'll return these resources to the people. It belongs to the people of Harney County, these good folks. And so I'll stand here with my friends.
We plan on hurting no one. We're only restoring freedom, liberties, so that these good people can use their lands and resources again. And that is why we're here. There's already people here from all walks of life. I don't know the first thing about ranching. I'm a city boy myself. 11 years in the Marine Corps. Now I'm serving my country. This is serving your country. Those of you that claim to protect and defend the Constitution, this is what it looks like. And we need more people to get out here and protect and defend the Constitution. This land belongs to Americans. That's why we put this flag up right here over that sign.
Exactly. Come here. Everybody see the flag?
This is what we hung up here. We the people. Close it out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Back with me, Rod Wheeler, Steve Rogers, Eric Guster. And, guys, I'll say right off the bat, I think the federal government owns way too much land. I don't understand it. I think the Bureau of Land Management, they are bullies, and I think what's happened to our ranchers is a shame. But I think everyone universally agrees that what the Bundy group has done has been overreach. But, Rod, this is what I'm concerned about. We're forgetting about the Hammonds. I mean, they reported for jail. How the hell do you go to jail? You already did your sentence. You go home and someone says, go back, and they're getting lost in all of this.
Right. This is really a quagmire for the government. The government is going to have to try to figure this out, Charles. There are no easy answers to what's going on out there in Oregon. And, I think they're just going to have to go in and take those ranchers out of there. I agree with the ranchers, actually. I really do. And I agree with you, Charles, when you talk about how the government has overreached in terms of the land. But, you can't violate the law. And the law in the state of Oregon has made it clear that that land belongs to the federal government. So they're going to have to just battle it out in court.
Here's the thing. This thing obviously has touched a lot of nerves. Yesterday there was a tweet storm, Montel Williams versus the world, and one of his replies, he said, then let's give them some, put this down using the National Guard with shoot to kill orders. Steve Rogers, Montel Williams saying shoot to kill. Let's not pussyfoot around with these guys. Go in there right now.
He's an armchair general that you go back to his talk show to suggest that the United States military be used to shoot and kill American protesters is way, way out of line.
But what would you say someone says they're armed protesters, and they've already said that they're willing to use violence to meet violence?
Look, if they open fire on the police, then there's justification for the police to use the force necessary to put it down. But they have not done that. I have never heard Montel Williams say, send the National Guard into cities where gangs have taken control of. And the fact of the matter is, right now, it's a peaceful protest. They're armed. The government knows how to negotiate. Police know how to do their job. We don't need armchair generals to add fuel to the fire.
Eric calls them terrorists, though.
I love when people say they're peaceful protests. Peaceful protests were in Ferguson. Peaceful protests were in the Mall of America protesting different issues.
You're saying when people were throwing the Molotov cocktails and all that stuff?
You had armed guards facing off with unarmed protesters. That's the problem. That shows the way the U.S. government treats African Americans and other groups totally different.
Eric, is not Montel Williams suggesting
I'm not talking about Montel.
I'm talking about because he is suggesting an act of terrorism by the government to put down Americans.
That's an act of terrorism. When you go into a federal building and you take over and you say, if you come in, I will shoot you.
Look,
those are
they're
terrorists.
wrong. I agree, they're wrong.
Okay, let me ask you
but the fact of the matter is,
Muslim, would you say the same thing?
They're wrong. I don't look at color. If they're wrong, they're wrong. But Eric, to suggest to use the United States military to kill American citizens is wrong. It's an act of terrorism.
I didn't say go in and kill them.
He did.
They should use military action. Absolutely.
Why? You got capable police officers who are
but Eric,
let 150 black guys go in the Brooklyn post office and take it over and say, we're going to sit in this post office until you put us out.
There's no immediate threat to anyone there. It's out in the wilderness. Yes, they do have weapons.
Wasn't one at Mall of America either, but they had armed guards there.
Well, but there was no military force used in the Mall of America. In fact, most people left the Mall of America.
Riot police?
Right.
Now, riot police, when you have riot police meeting people who had no guns, no weapons, in a silent, quiet protest, that is unused.
I think it's a stretch. I think it's a stretch to certainly say the terrorists, and I'll let Rod chime in, but we know what happened in Baltimore. We know what happened in a lot of other cities, and it turned extraordinarily violent and ugly.
Absolutely. It was completely different from what we see in Oregon. These individuals in Oregon are very organized. They're not trying to be there for a fight. They do have their weapons, and I think the government will be able to work it out with them. Baltimore and Ferguson was a completely different story, guys.
All right, guys,
yes.
we got to leave it. We got to leave it.
They
there.
were unarmed, and then they showed up with tanks. Yeah, it's a totally different story. Absolutely.
And of course, unfortunately, the crowd justified the use of those tanks.
And you're not suggesting to kill American citizens.
The producers are going crazy. They're all in my ear, guys. That was some beautiful, passionate stuff.
What I have a concern about is that they are going to, there's no doubt about it, they're going to try to shut down the independent media. All right? They want to cut off the independent media and send in the mainstream media so that they can control the information flow. I've been saying it all along. The FBI has every intention, as they have in the past. They have a history of killing people, and they are going to set the stage by pretending to be nice, good cop negotiators, and set the stage so that they can warm everyone up with mainstream media propaganda and get the public conditioned and ripe to accept the murdering of those men, women, and children that are at that compound. Are you totally convinced that it was of my own free will that I decided not to go into that compound because I did not want to?
Well, yes, we were all very upset because of the we had such a great event, and then this happened. But now that it's happened, we're trying to report on it,
right,
and let people know what's going on.
This is what's going on. Let me tell you what's happening.
Yeah, what?
Okay. Verizon, I went down to get my hotspot. I got all set up.
Yeah.
I walked out the door.
Yeah.
And I turned around. I went to go back and had a great relationship with the person that was there.
Okay.
And the FBI called her and said, "I'm FBI agent so-and-so. Did you just sell Pete Santilli a new cell phone?"
Yeah, they're trying to block us out on media.
They're trying to shut us down in the independent media.
I took pictures on my phone, and they're all black from down there.
Now to the drama playing out in rural Oregon tonight. The armed anti-government protesters who've taken over a group of federal buildings. Police are keeping their distance for now, hoping to ride this thing out. But many critics are asking, would the cops be handling the situation differently if the protesters were black or Muslim? ABC's Neil Karlinski is on the scene tonight.
Tonight, a bizarre standoff in Oregon.
I am 100% willing to lay my life down to fight against tyranny in this country.
As several dozen militiamen, some openly armed, hold their ground at this federal wildlife refuge, which they took over while no one was here. And we found the man who posted that video inside.
Do you fear that this could turn into something serious enough that you would not be able to return to your family?
There's always that chance. Nobody, I'll tell you right now though, nobody here will fire that first shot. We will protect ourselves, but that's not what we want, and I don't think that's what they want.
The events at first glance might seem like this 2014 armed standoff between ranchers and federal agents in Nevada.
Get back! Get back now!
But there's no violence or confrontation here in Oregon. What there is some of the same characters. In fact, members of the Bundy family from Nevada behind that standoff are at the center of this one as well.
This refuge here is rightfully owned by the people. And we intend to use it.
They say they're fighting for nothing short of the liberation of thousands of square miles of federal land, which they believe should be returned to America's ranchers.
To say that this is all taking place in the middle of nowhere is an understatement. The nearest town is a solid 40-minute drive away. It is nothing but open, snowy fields like this. These guys are in the middle of nowhere.
The group seized the unoccupied federal refuge Saturday, protesting against prison time for two ranchers convicted of arson for lighting fires on acres of public land.
I'm going to jail for 5 years for 127. Seems like a bit of an overkill.
The pair surrendered at a California prison late today, distancing themselves from the standoff in Oregon. In the small town of Burns, the nearest populated area, schools are closed all week, residents growing weary. Police have turned the high school into a makeshift command center.
It's totally disrupted our community. Our kids can't go to school. All of our federal and county and city our businesses are all closed down. It's been a real hardship, a lot of us.
The way they're handling this is not the right way. They've threatened people in this community. They've stalked people in this community. They would deny it to your face, but that's a blatant lie.
Tonight, public support wavering as the militia is skewered online. The hashtags Y'all-Qaeda and Vanilla ISIS picking up steam throughout the day. Some complaining that the lack of law enforcement presence is a sign of a double standard.
Look, the FBI, they know what's going on. They know that you have these largely white militias, and they're carrying heavy artillery. You cannot convince me that federal law enforcement would react the exact same way if you were dealing with some folks who are Black Lives Matter activists.
But the militiamen say their fight goes across color lines.
God intended that his children be free, regardless of race, color, or creed. And I will stand with any man who will stand with freedom.
The FBI saying only that they are investigating the actions of the militia. Tonight, the sheriff going a step further and urging them to go home.
It's time for you to leave our community, go home to your families, and end this peacefully.
Authorities say the few dozen holed up here mainly come from out of state and now have a name: Citizens for Constitutional Freedom.
This is the sanctuary they've taken over. You can see their guard tower in the distance over there. And here you really don't see a lot of presence at all. And they have gasoline, actually, fuel pumps for their vehicles.
Inside, bunks the militia members sleep on, a woman preparing meals, ranchers pleading for others to join their cause.
We need you to get here and stand with us. Whether you're armed or unarmed, you get up here.
One of the leaders is LaVoy Finicum, who traveled here from Arizona. He also says that he's willing to do what it takes to get the federal government to ease laws that he feels are too restrictive on ranchers.
You love your wife, you love your kids, you give them a hug, and if I see them on the flip side, I see them on the flip side.
LaVoy comes from a long line of ranchers.
This is happening throughout the West. I've met with ranchers in Utah. They're getting pressed and pushed from every side.
Police have been largely absent in this standoff, but LaVoy has been in this spot before, joining rancher Cliven Bundy in that 2014 face-off with federal agents over cattle grazing rights.
Get back! Get back now!
For 20 years, rancher Cliven Bundy refused to pay rent to herd his cattle on government land, resulting in $1.1 million in grazing fees.
I have no contract with the United States government.
Back up! You're gonna get back!
Federal agents armed with tasers and dogs evicted his cows, seizing hundreds. Anti-government groups and armed militia members joining the fight, the confrontation turning rough.
I just saw federal agents throw my aunt on the ground.
Government officials, concerned for their safety, pulled out, leaving Bundy and the protesters behind. This time around, it's Bundy's son Ammon who is leading the charge. He says that his actions will be peaceful.
The reason and the principles that we are here are based upon the Constitution of the United States.
For Nightline, I'm Neil Karlinski in Burns.
This is Fox News. I'm not sure when it aired, but check it out.
Well, the FBI keeping close watch on a standoff in Oregon as the lead agency in charge now. This as questions emerge about what's next for an armed militia taking over a federal building at a wildlife refuge. The group says they're patriots, and initially they were standing up for two ranchers facing prison time. But now they're saying their fight is bigger than that. Take a listen.
They're here to enforce the supreme law of the land, which is the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17, and that's to take this land whereby 100 ranchers have been forced off of this land since 1908, and to restore it back to Harney County and those ranchers that have been thriving on this land.
Danny Colson is a former FBI Deputy Assistant Director and Rescue Team Commander. And Danny, you have some specific knowledge with this part of the country and this specific group. Tell us about that.
Well, I commanded the FBI division in Oregon for a number of years, and I've dealt with this particular group. And I will tell you, these are regular individuals. They are very much patriots, and they never commit acts of crime, except I guess in this case there's an arson situation. But I think they're looking for a forum here. I had a direct negotiation with them on a matter in Oregon, and I met with the leaders, and I had some good dialogue. And the key word here, Jenna, is patience. Let these people speak their piece. They have the same concerns about our government that a lot of people have in our country, frankly. And they want a forum, and I think they're going to get it. And the big danger here, though, is that somebody in their group does something foolish and institutes some sort of a dangerous situation. The FBI has to be very careful about that. But the Bureau has a lot of experience dealing with these guys. They have great negotiators. And if things go as norm, this should be peacefully resolved. I don't have much doubt about that.
The supporter that we heard from, and Dan Springer's on the scene, he was doing an interview. That's the clip that we just ran from a man named Pete Santilli. He said, if violence is to come, it will be because of the FBI. Because that is the question. There's a lot of hypothetics that even our viewers are hearing, and certainly the media is asking about what's next. So what did you learn from dealing with this specific group that you think the FBI should apply now?
Well, I think they're as much aware of it as I am, frankly. They're very good at these things. Basically, patience and face-to-face dialogue. They like to talk to a mature FBI agent that has a lot of experience. They can have a dialogue with them and not be afraid of them and deal face-to-face. That's the only way to deal with it. Trying to talk on the phone or through the media doesn't work. FBI knows that. The FBI has a presence there. And I guarantee you the FBI will not generate any kind of violent action. They're not going to do that. If it happens, it'll come from the other side. And that's why you need to get their leader on board with you to say, okay, you need to make your point here. You need to say things that a lot of people are thinking, but don't do something stupid. Don't do something ridiculous that's going to cause injury to your people or our people, and it'll work out.
There are those
that's the key.
There are those that say, they are breaking the law. They are going into a federal building that it doesn't belong to them, and they're occupying essentially that building. And there are laws, and they have to be followed. So, what about that argument, Danny? How long do you let this sort of play out?
Well, I think you have to take the consequences here. It is against the law, but the consequences of an armed confrontation between our government and private citizens in a situation like this is something we have to avoid at all costs. If it takes a month, that's fine with me. I don't really care. It's a building. Lives are more important, more precious than anything we have on this earth. And I know I'm enforcing the law. I'm a lawyer. I'm an FBI agent, or was, and I believe in the enforcement of the law. But common sense has to reign here.
We certainly don't want to break any laws in front of you even now, Danny, because we know that you mean business. There are these comparisons, again, when you see these scenarios, and we have to be responsible as members of the media and also in our conversations that when we make comparisons and we hear words like Ruby Ridge, for example, come up, that they fit here. And so I want to ask you a little bit of, so tell us why, and also address this other concern that seems to be emerging throughout the media today, that there's some sort of double standard. This is a rural part of the country. These are white men with guns. If it was folks of a different color, they would be treated differently. And that seems to be where the conversation is going as well. I'd like you to address both of those.
Oh, yeah, I thank you for allowing me to do that. In the first place, Ruby Ridge, Waco, those other things started with violent actions. It started with murder. It started killing federal officers. It started killing with the ATF agents and then United States Marshals. That's not what we have here. We have basically a demonstration in an office building that frankly, doesn't hold a lot of merit. So we're talking about apples and oranges here. They're not the same situation. The only crime they've committed maybe is trespass, and that's certainly not worth a firefight. It's just not. With regard to double standard, I think the media should cover this. It's an armed confrontation. The media, I don't believe, generates issues. I think they report issues if it's done properly. I mean, look at the violence we have in Chicago. They're not covering that. That may be part of the double standards if there is one. But here, this is a major event. We have an armed confrontation with the FBI and heavily armed people. And I think, frankly, I hope people aren't looking for the worst case scenario here. But bottom line is, if we do this right, and the FBI will, it'll be resolved peacefully. Everybody go home.
Good to have your perspective.
And they get to report their cause. So maybe maybe some good will come out of it.
And we can all hope for that best case scenario in all of this. Danny, great to have you on the program as always. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure, Jonathan.
Armed protesters who seized the government building in the U.S. state of Oregon are refusing to surrender. As the occupation enters its third day, the militia are calling on supporters from across the country to join them.
We need you to come because we need to be united and we need to have a strong defense. That's the way we can make sure that there is no lives that are lost here.
These men came to Harney County claiming to be part of militia groups supporting local ranchers, when in reality, these men had alternative motives. to attempt to overthrow the county and federal government in hopes to spark a movement across the United States.
Federal and local police are preparing to create a joint command center to take action to resolve the standoff. The armed men have criticized authorities for what they call a failed legal process concerning 2 locals convicted of arson. The men were charged under an anti-terrorism law, sparking debate over the federal government's authority in local matters. The militia want to put federal land under local control. Igor Piskunov is in Oregon for us.
We're here at the National Refuge Wildlife System in rural Oregon. That behind me is actually the entrance to that territory. And, well, the vehicles, which you could probably see there, including the truck, these vehicles belong to the group of people who currently have this territory under their control. And they're not the police or the staff. I was able to speak with one of these men. How many people are here?
There's enough.
Okay. We heard that there might be some weapons here as well. Is that true?
Well, the Second Amendment means you can carry weapons, so I hope so.
Okay. What is the purpose of this event, of what's happening here?
This is the purpose of the event here, the United States Constitution.
So you're defending your rights?
Yeah, defending the rights of the local ranchers, loggers, four-wheeler riders, snowmobile riders, horseback riders, all that.
What if the police use force to drive you out?
No, that would be bad.
Are you ready to resort to force also? I guess that's what everybody's worried about.
I mean, I think we'll just do whatever it takes for that not to happen.
Well, theoretically, if it does, hopefully not for everybody, but...
You know, I don't think anybody wants to be shot here, so...
Earlier, another representative of this group of people warned the authorities from using force.
The federal government should respond to this with force or just be constitutional?
If they did, they should just be constitutional. That's a great point. But if they did, they would be doing it and putting lives at risk.
I asked the man that I spoke with whether or not they're prepared to allow the staff of this refuge inside, and he said that anything could happen. He did say that the locals here may be afraid to come because of all this quote-unquote panic being spread by the authorities. In the town nearby, the atmosphere is a bit tense. Many people don't exactly know how to treat a situation like this. The local schools there are closed, and the courthouse is closed as well.
I'm worried that somebody might get hurt. I feel like they're taking it a little bit far. I don't know if the National Guard will step in. They might step in, though, if need be. Like, school's been canceled. People are scared. They might have to step in.
With the federal government, I wouldn't be surprised if they would send the National Guard, yes.
Of course, we'll be monitoring how the situation unfolds throughout these next couple of days, and we'll be bringing you all the latest from Oregon. Igor Piskunov, RT.
Well, the story has gained lots of attention online, with the hashtag Oregon under attack being widely followed on Twitter. Some are criticizing the U.S. authorities for what they say is a hypocritical response.
If they were black, poor, etc., SWAT teams, the National Guard with tanks or both would take them down as soon as possible.
My biggest problem with Oregon under attack is the difference of response. If they were black or Muslim, we'd be in a national lockdown.
How do unarmed black protesters warrant the National Guard, yet armed white men warrant only the media coverage?
If they were not white, they would not be alive right now. Nobody is clamoring for for the whole state to go on lockdown and to call up the National Guard. No one is making sweeping generalizations in the media about people like this. These people, their culture, something has to be done. It's a clear provocation. If one person is suspected of a crime, they will do this in a major metropolitan area with a SWAT team, often knock on the wrong door and kill people without any questions asked and have no repercussion. This happens in the black community all the time.
I got the roads blocked off. This is the school. This is a school, public school, that they shut down for a week. As you can see, They do have some news agencies here. KGW and Channel 6 over there. As you can see, the lights are on in the school. They are in the school. Probably setting up a terrorist war crime plan.
I agree with that.
Against the Patriots.
Good job, Ben.
Here, this building here, that's the sheriff department. And as you can see down there, they have the road blocked off there. They got the road blocked off all the way around the school. They are in the school right now, making criminal, terrorist, war plans against the patriots of the United States of America. Get the picture, man. Get the picture. There's the sheriff department.
There it is, sheriff's inside the school. Ladies and gentlemen,
Can't tell.
there's sheriffs inside the school.
Okay,
Okay, that's confirmation right there.
Or Fed, whatever.
Nice job. Good job, Ben.
Sheriff's guarding the doors. There's all their vehicles over here. The other vehicle I showed you looked like a command, I don't know what they would call them trucks, but that's what that is. Right there's the sheriff department. They're in the sheriff's department too. They are, looks like they are, yes, they are in the sheriff department too.
Now, we're not secretly recording. We're actually as a member of the press. There it is, sheriff's department. We don't have any feds identified in that building, but they've commandeered this building now. They shut down the schools for a week, and they basically told the people of this community to cower in fear.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com. We are in Burns, Oregon. We arrived here Sunday evening to film and to find out what is going on with the Bundy standoff at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Today we woke up to reports that came out from The Guardian saying that federal agencies, including the FBI, said that they would be shutting off the power to the wildlife refuge, where Bundy and militia are standing their ground against what they say are a tyrannical government running rampant, taking away people's lands and destroying ranchers' lives. Now they also say that there's a possibility that they could shut off cell phone communication as well as set up a blockade on the one road that goes through that area. Now we do know that the sheriff does not want the presence of Bundy and the militia in the town, and many of the people that live in this area feel the same. Now, after we read the reports from The Guardian about the possible power being shut off and cell phone blockage, we went out there and were able to go and listen to some of the press conferences. Now, we had set up a meeting, a sit-down for myself and Ammon Bundy to really get to the bottom of why he thinks he should be doing this, what's led him to this situation, and what's the overall end game. And that was all canceled when he got intel that there was a large amount of FBI agents and federal agents at this high school right here. This is the Burns High School, which is right in the heart of this small town. Now, what we see out here, as you can scan across and look, there are no large amounts of FBI vehicles waiting to strike the Bundy compound at the wildlife refuge. Now, this leads us to question, based off this intel, Bundy came out and said that they will now be taking a defensive posture, that they will be getting ready. And while we were out there tonight, we saw them take government vehicles, huge tractors, bulldozers, and begin to barricade themselves into that compound in response to a possible FBI raid that they got intel on. Now, from what you see, there's nothing out here. Now, did the Bundys purposely get bad intel so they would make a move like that and come off looking ridiculous? Or maybe the FBI is inside and we just can't see. But we don't know at this point in time. But what we do know, the Bundys are bunkered in, the militia are ready. Now, as you can see, it's snowing pretty hard. There's a lot of snow on the ground, so I don't foresee any type of helicopter raid coming in. And it was a hell of a drive to get out here myself from the compound to here to see if there was any FBI in this area. Now, this leads me to question, who is giving the Bundys, Ammon Bundy, intel? And are they giving them good intel? Because as you can see, I see no federal agents out here whatsoever. And the Bundys also have been told, I'm not sure if this is something that is true or not, but they've also been given intel, they say, that there are 5 warrants out for their arrest. One of the guys even took that so seriously as to walk outside of the compound, sit down in a chair with his rifle, take some sleeping bags, and he said he was going to sit up there and hold his ground until they come out and arrest him. These guys do not want to fire first. They do not want a civil war. They do not want any type of action that could lead to the deaths of people. They care about their militiamen. They care about the people in this county. They care about the cause. So they said they will not make a move unless the FBI makes a move, and they will do that in response, only as self-defense. So hopefully, cooler heads will prevail here in Oregon. Once again, I'm Joe Biggs reporting from the Burns High School for Infowars.com.
Could you define for us what this means to you personally?
To me, it's about my children being able to grow up in a free country.
When the FBI comes after Pete Santilli, it's for one reason. It's not to come get me. It's not about Pete Santilli. It's about shutting off the lines of communication to the public. I will do my absolute darndest to get the truth out to you guys. Our entire team is dedicated to that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, John Ritzheimer here. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'll bring you guys up to speed. The last word we got is that they're coming out here. Okay, that First Amendment, that also, it's not just the Second Amendment backs up the first, okay, it's the first also backs up the second.
Hold on, go ahead. Sorry.
We got word that they're coming out here, so we're trying to plan and maintain a defensive posture. Right now, underneath that tarp right there, LaVoy Finicum is sitting underneath that tarp, and he is not going to let them come through. We're maintaining a defensive posture back here, and
do you mind if I pan this way?
We will never fire unless fired upon.
Yes, sir.
So we keep it at that, and that's all there is to it. We've broken no laws. There's not one no trespassing sign here, and this is open public land, Harney County's land at that.
Okay.
I don't see what the rush is.
Okay.
If they're kind of going to rush in here, what is the rush?
Has the sheriff been here?
No. Negative.
Okay.
He has not been here. We also have reason to believe that they possibly are heading out to go take the Hammond Ranch now. So we're on standby.
This is his sleeping quarters for the night. Hey, I take it this is LaVoy Finicum's sleeping quarters for the night?
It looks like it. He said he's not going to go anywhere.
Okay. Do we have everything? Yep. It's a lot of pizza. I'd say we had a total, I don't know if you have audio. You have audio? I got audio, yeah. You do? Shoot, I'd say that we probably had 50 pizzas delivered from the local community members out here, delivered to the Silver Spur Hotel. I've also been speaking to local residents the ones who've come to know these guys over the past couple of days, find it very disheartening. The sheriff has come out here to meet these guys. The local residents have. They've gotten to know them. They know them to be a bunch of kind, warm, gentle souls, and they're delivering pizzas. I think it's a very nice gesture. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Cap, no.
Yeah.
Are we good? Okay, guys, we actually have a briefing here. They're trying to get HBO Vice all set up for entry.
Oh, you don't have other stuff?
Hey, Clooney, you don't have other? You want more? I'll go back and get more.
I thought you said you had brought a bunch of supplies with you.
No. I brought like 15
food.
Okay. 15 orders of wings and 15 salads. All right. Oh, cool. Yeah, I ate some of that.
Can I get this right here? Am I okay to be over here, Capno?
This is the fresh size.
Capno? Am I okay to be here now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys. Advice, guys. We're live streaming right now. If you guys don't mind, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are at work, so all right. Yeah, if you minded being on camera, you wouldn't carry one.
This would be safer, honey, right?
What's that?
Do you think by doing all this is bigger than Harney County?
This is way bigger than Harney County. I mean, just look across the nation. Look at the people that we have in political power in this country now. I mean, those people couldn't tell the truth and hit them upside the head. They lie literally about everything. And if you just see this in increments, our rights disappearing literally every day. Well, if you keep compromising, at what time you look around and it's gone, it's lost. You lost it. And then once you get on that boxcar for the FEMA camp, it's over with. You can't fight anymore after that. So you got to draw a line in the sand and say, okay,
I want you to just describe what's going on. Why are you out here, sir?
Oh, why are you standing in my bedroom? Is what you're asking?
Oh, I'm sorry. No disrespect intended. As a matter of fact, let me get the shot here. Here's.
Oh, I didn't make my bed.
He didn't make his bed, and he apologizes.
Yeah.
There he is.
It is a rocker, so it is comfortable.
There it is. So what made you decide to come out here?
Actually, not just for show. Okay. We had very good intel. Whether it is really accurate or not, I don't know. But it has all. What it was is that we were told that warrants were issued, federal warrants were issued for my arrest, for Ammon, and Ryan Bundy's arrest. And I said, well, if they have a warrant for my arrest, I don't want federal agents running around in the dark, kicking in doors. If they want to come and talk with me, I want them to be able to find me, so here I am.
Okay, and the three of you had warrants? I heard there were five.
Yeah, five. Two others who I'm not sure who those would be.
You're not sure who they are?
I'm not sure that those others, yeah.
Okay, all right. And that what you say was from a very reliable source?
Yes, it is. And Ammon kind of explained those things.
Okay.
And he could explain more clearly.
Okay.
Because what it was, Ammon would be the person to explain.
Yes, sir.
Once again,
that's okay.
To come and look me in the eye right here. So I don't want them to have to wonder where I'm at. I'm not running. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just right here.
You're right here.
I'm right here.
That's right.
I share just a little tidbit or a little thought.
Absolutely.
There's a movie that is way too violent to watch, but it has a great message to it. It's called The Gladiator. Yes. And in that movie, Commodus, who was an actual emperor of Rome, he's talking to his sister, and he's upset with the Senate, and he says, I'm thinking I'm about disbanding the Senate. And his sister said, oh, brother, he says, don't do that. Let the people have their illusions. And that's what I think we have, an illusion of a Republican form of government. We need to have more accountability of our elected officials.
Yes, sir.
And so I think right now we're operating under an illusion of freedom, an illusion of a republic.
Yes, sir. What do you have to say to local members of the community that a lot of whom I've spoken with that are in support but in fear at the same time of speaking out because they don't want to be retaliated against?
The first thing I want to say is to those of you who brought the wonderful soup, the wonderful chili, the meat, and all
pizza
those
tonight.
Thank you so much. You are so gracious and kind. And I sincerely understand your concerns, because that is something I have heard throughout, not just here from ranchers after ranchers, but throughout Utah, Arizona, to those ranchers I've talked to there, that if we stand up, if we do something like this, the federal government will come in and take our ranch. I'm here to tell you, I'll tell you an actual account. The head of the grazing board down there, the president of the grazing board down there where my ranch is, came to me in a public meeting and says, Mr. Finicum, if you don't stop what you're doing, they're going to label you as a rebellious rancher. And then they won't only take your ranch, I'll be out there doing something like mending, fixing my trails, and they'll come and say, you can't do that, you too are a rebellious rancher, and I'll lose my ranch. And so what kind of government is that if when they live in fear of what a central power will do to them?
Yeah, give me your jacket, now your shirt, now your pants, now your boots, now your hat. Oh, and now that you're naked, you're a terrorist and you're going to jail.
Because I wasn't properly dressed.
Right.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jason Patrick.
I'll tell you who the real people that I would like to take my hats off to is those ladies in the kitchen that work behind the scenes feeding everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, no person's effort is greater than another person's effort. And so, again, I want to thank those people who bring the food from the community, those who prepare the food, who serve the people here. That's real service. It's unrecognized and it's sincere. So those are patriots.
And everybody is terrorists for some reason. You
Yeah.
stand up for the Constitution, you stand up for what you believe in, you stand up for the truth and the rule of law, all of a sudden you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
Now they're going to throw you in jail and say, well, you don't get due process because terrorists don't deserve due process. And
That's right.
and that is one thing that we cannot allow to happen as Americans.